got to get the hell out of here.
Well, as this is going on, remember, Shams had the in-depth behind-the-scenes story on ESPN.com. Check it out there about the Bucks, to which Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA on ESPN last night had this to say about those same Bucks players who talked to someone that obviously got back to Shams.
They got some punks in that damn Milwaukee locker room.
Why do they have punks?
When you leak what happens in team meetings, you're a punk. Or Kenny, you know the locker room is sacred. You've seen fights. You've seen players fight and coaches fight, correct?
Okay, I'm seeing where you're going, though.
That should never get to the press.
But it always does every year. It always does.
And let me tell you, when's the last time it happened on a good team?
Good teams don't fight.
That's not true.
Good teams don't fight.
Good teams do fight.
Because we got one leader that lay that damn fist down. Ain't no fighting in my locker room. Listen, what are you talking about? No fighting. Whatever I say, go.
Forever.
Sorry about that, Ernie.
No, it was an emphatic point and well made.
Now, and I understand what you're saying, Shaq, but I just think when you're on a team, there's disagreements all the time. Players and coaches get into it all the time because it's an emotional game, a lot of things. But for the media and to know exactly what happens in meetings, that's just a punk-ass move.
All right, you heard at the end there, Shaq, of course, four-time champion who famously fought with Kobe Bryant and Pat Riley. Anyway, but
right?
Good point.
On, like, what are we talking about?
Maybe good teams do fight.
No, good teams. No, Charles Barkley got it right. Good teams fight. I mean, sometimes good teams have players that punch other teammates in the face. Not calling out any names, Draymond Green, but we've seen that. And those are great
Michael
teams.
Jordan.
Dynastic teams. Scotty Burrell. He's somewhere out here walking around lumped
Steve
up.
Kerr.
Yeah, Steve Kerr. Like, all these guys. So good teams, championship-winning teams, they have disagreements. But that stuff doesn't get out if you have strong leadership in the locker room. The only time that stuff leaks to the press is when people have ulterior motives, they have, selfish agendas, and ultimately that leads to the undoing of a team and ultimately the organization. And in the case of Doc Rivers, they hired him with championship expectations. They made the Dame Lillard trade. This was supposed to be a tandem that ushered in another window to compete for championships for the Bucks while they have the most important player in the franchise's history in the last half century. And yet it ended disastrously. Disastrously. Doc Rivers' record in the regular season with the Bucks is 97-103. That's not what they brought him into Milwaukee to do. Nope. So when we start talking about getting a fair shake at it versus being unfortunate or unlucky, it's far more to me the former and not the latter. Doc Rivers had every opportunity to stabilize this franchise, stabilize this team, and convince Giannis that the franchise was on the right track, and he failed to do so. Now, there's been reports that the Bucks want to try to move Doc Rivers into a different role. I don't know if Doc Rivers is amenable to that. We'll see what happens in the coming days, but I don't understand why they would want him to continue to be a part of the organization. They brought him in when the stakes were the highest, and he failed to do the job.
And not only that, it doesn't seem like he's that connected to the organization or the guys in that locker room. If so many people are going to talk to Shams and others to talk about their frustration with Doc and things that he was saying in the locker room that wasn't landing, even though he's a Hall of Famer, he's won at the highest level with this specific organization. If you don't have that connectivity, those relationships, and you fell short from a basketball standpoint, what's the point of really having you come back and have another type of role? How additive will it be if the message that you want him to convey is falling on deaf ears because of previous relationships?
Well, congrats to Doc on a Hall of Fame career that, as a coach, likely ended last night.
You think it's over?
You think he's going to coach again?
I don't know. Listen, you can say what you want about Doc Rivers and whether or not he's a good coach. Doc Rivers has a Hall of Fame agent. Hall of Fame agent.
Who's better, his or Kirk Cousins?
No coach has gotten more run out of one championship than Doc Rivers. No coach in any sport. So, I understand what you're saying, and you're probably right. The man has 7 grandkids, so he's probably done. But I can't say that definitively because Doc Rivers always finds a way to service. The man was working here at ESPN and ends up coming off in the middle of the season to go work for the Milwaukee Bucks because they got rid of Adrian Griffin after, 33 games? So, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's probably the end of the road, but we don't know that definitively.
All right, coming up. If it's not up to you, who is it up to? We will answer that question next. We're on Sportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance.
Hey, this is Rich Eisen. Coming up on Monday's show, I'm live in New York City. Joining me in
You got Golden State at the Clippers and Portland and Phoenix. Those are your play-in games. But Doc is out. Doc Rivers out in Milwaukee. Giannis spoke to Eric Name, phenomenal reporter, as he was leaving, I guess, Philadelphia last night. And he was asked about his future, Giannis was, and he said, that's a very good question. I don't know. It's not up to me anymore. It's not up to me. We'll see. Let's just stop there. It's not up to him.
Hey, who the hell is it up to?
Well, okay, good question.
I'm asking you. I don't know. Who's it? If Giannis doesn't have any agency over his NBA future, and he's been the one that has floated the idea of considering playing somewhere else, over a year ago, I just don't understand with the way that things are trending in Milwaukee and the constraints that they have on roster construction. If winning matters to him, then it's clear and obvious what he should do. From the Bucks' perspective, I understand why they would never preemptively make the decision for Giannis by moving him, against his will if he wants to stay there and finish his career. But the reality is that both parties can't move forward by staying together. They need the divorce. They need to end things amicably and go their separate ways. But with Giannis being so ambiguous about his future and then punting or abdicating the responsibility that he has in terms of being able to steer his career where he wants to go in the twilight of his prime, I just think it puts a lot of unnecessary pressure on the Milwaukee Bucks in terms of how they navigate this offseason.
Yeah, this whole will they or won't they, I'm fatigued by it. And I think a lot of other people are. I don't know how they come back together. We've seen crazier things in sports, but this has been brewing for some time. He has been vocal about his frustrations, even as recently as a couple days ago and up until the end of the season when he's talking about how he has no control over his playing time. I just think that this is the end of the road for these two parties. And for Giannis to say that he doesn't have any control in the situation or any power in the situation, I don't know who he expects to believe that, because I certainly don't.
I think he's worked so hard to try to be the good guy, he may be becoming the bad guy. And that's unfortunate because he's not a bad guy in any way, shape, or form. Nobody is saying that. I mean, character-wise in the story, he was always the good guy. Is he right now?
No, he's not the good guy.
Is he turning heel?
It's the Dark Knight theory. Die and be a hero, or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. That's what it is. He's staying in Milwaukee, and the fact that it's gone on so long and it's got so bad around him, a lot of people are looking at the common denominator, and it's Giannis. It's number 34. And I understand it. If he gives some clarity on what he wants, it allows the organization to plan what they need to do for the future. And in such a consequential offseason with such an important draft, knowing the assets that the Milwaukee Bucks have, there's a good chance that they could end up with a top half of the lottery draft pick. And that's consequential for this team, especially if they're going to have to reset with a new face of the franchise. I just wish that Giannis would tell them earlier in the offseason process so they can make informed decisions.
Well, and that's interesting you brought up the lottery. So this is where, now that we know details with the season ending, so they get the lesser of their pick and New Orleans pick, okay? So it's impossible, or the worse, the lesser, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's going to be a good pick.
It's going to be a good pick, but it cannot be the number one overall pick.
Yes.
Now, to go further, not that we didn't know this or see this coming, but Miami and Golden State, two teams that have been mentioned for Giannis, are both 10 seeds, which means if they lose the play-in, they are then also in the lottery. So if those are two teams that still have a shot at Giannis, they may have a lottery pick. In order to get a deal done in and around the draft or include this year's draft pick, they would then be moving him before they would offer him a full max contract extension, because his whole thing is, well, I haven't been offered that yet. He's really smart. It's illegal to offer that within NBA rules. You can only offer that on October 1st. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to stay. I don't know if they'll offer me. You know they would offer you.
He's a max contract player all day long. That's what it is.
But maybe he's trying to make it where they don't want to offer him a max contract anymore. Maybe
the Luka Doncic situation?
Or Jimmy Butler. Maybe he's trying to burn the house down a little bit and say, I don't want to get to October.
But why would you want to do that if Milwaukee's going to be a forever place for you?
Yeah.
Well,
and
then
if you
it's
don't
not.
want to be the bad guy.
If that's going to be your home when it's all said and done, and
Which it will
everybody's going to identify that, because as you pointed out, Evan, he's the guy that built the Deer District.
Yes.
That exists because of Giannis, and it's a beautiful place. We were hosted there by ESPN Milwaukee. It's awesome. Like, that's his home. That's his sports home when his career is over with. When he goes into the Basketball Hall of Fame, it will be as a Milwaukee Buck no matter where he goes. And so you would think that there would be some reciprocity in terms of him wanting to do right by them as much as they want to do right by him.
Also, if he doesn't want to be the bad guy, why would he take that route? And Cece, you can speak to this obviously better than us. It is important to have a forever home in your sports career. It is important for a player of the caliber of Giannis to have a place that he can go back to that will always have that relationship. I mean, when we talk about Kevin Durant, that's one thing that feels incomplete about his career, is that even though he won with Golden State and had a great career there, that's the house that Steph built. There's so many other players on that team that feel like they have more of a stake in the foundation of the Warriors than KD does, even though he had that great chapter there. So for Giannis, like, you need this symbiotic relationship at the end of your career. And I'm sure that once this is all said and done and enough time has passed, however this goes down, those two will find a way to come back to each other, and it will be the warm and fuzzies because they won together. They reached the top of the mountain together. Giannis did a lot for the Bucks. The Bucks did a lot for Giannis. But right now, I don't think that he can exist in this gray area that he is trying to pin himself into. You can't not be the bad guy while also wanting to try to maneuver things behind the scenes so that you can get out. And he always constantly talks, too, about how communication is really important to him, that he's very big on communication. But it seems like this communication that we're seeing, or at least what we're getting, the breadcrumbs that we're getting through the media, it seems like he's being a bit passive aggressive. He needs to, if he is so big on communication, just be very clear and direct about what you want. And if it's not in Milwaukee, you need to let everybody know.
Progressive NBA Snapshot. Save on commercial auto insurance from Progressive. Get a fast quote at progressivecommercial.com. Coming up, did one team in the NBA ask for it? We'll explain after I tell you about game day travel, bringing the excitement, which means Marriott, of course, the journey, the routine, the crew. That's why I book with Marriott Bonvoy, the official hotel partner of the NCAA and U.S. Soccer. It connects me to a portfolio of brands designed for how I travel, with different options depending on what matters the most, from complimentary breakfast in select hotels to